just got back from a 2-night winter camping trip, and it seemed like a perfect time to give you some advice on how you can have fun winter camping. Now, I'll be honest, there are a ton of YouTube videos that show people winter camping, and in a lot of them, they're in freezing cold Arctic temperatures with blasting wind and snowstorms, and they hardly have any equipment with them, and it looks miserable. But winter camping doesn't have to be that way, and if you're new to winter camping, it definitely shouldn't be that way. If you follow these tips, you'll have a great time, and I hope that this inspires you to get out and try winter camping for yourself. Tip number 1 is be safe and make sure you can stay warm. And there are a ton of videos out on YouTube that will tell you how to safely winter camp and winter backpack and how to stay warm and what you should bring. I definitely recommend checking out a few different videos to get an idea of what makes the most sense for you. My next tip is not to be overly ambitious, and that includes a few different factors in your trip. Factor number 1 is that you don't want to go on too difficult of a trail, and that can mean elevation as well as distance. Pick something that's a lot easier than what you would normally do during the summer because you've got a lot less time to hike and you're probably going to be carrying more gear. Plus, challenges with weather can make it so that it takes even longer than it normally would to hike on the same distance. For my recent trip, I hiked to 2 different shelters, and I think the longest hike that I did with all of my gear was a little over a mile. The other thing is to factor in your campsite. Now, personally, I really like wilderness camping. I like going to remote sites, but in the winter, there's a lot less people around, so even a more established camping area with a lot more amenities can feel more remote because you're probably still going to be the only person there. Definitely make sure you check out different areas and what's available, and be sure you plan ahead and know what to expect when you get there, because likely you'll have a lot less time than you're used to set up camp, and you want to make sure that everything can go smoothly, because having a less stressful experience setting up camp just increases the amount of fun you're going to have while you're there. Staying warm is a huge part of having fun while you're winter camping, and a really easy way to stay warm is to stay active. So while you might be doing a shorter hike into camp, make sure that you continue to keep moving around while the sun is out. That might include doing things like camp chores or going on day hikes, exploring the area around camp. I spent my time going on a scavenger hunt looking for old artifacts from 1800s oil drilling, and that was a great way to make it fun and also to stay warm. Here in the Northeast, in the middle of winter, nighttime can last more than 12 hours. And when you're out camping, that's a really long time to be sitting around in the dark. A really important thing to consider if you want to have a fun winter camping trip is to plan for a long night. Now, that doesn't mean going to bed at 6 o'clock when the sun goes down and not getting out of your sleeping bag until 7:30 when the sun comes up, but finding things that you can do when it is dark. And for some people, that might just be sitting around the campfire and enjoying its warmth. But for me, when I'm by myself, I like to bring a book or a journal, and I bring 2 headlamps with me so I have plenty of light. I like to hang one above me for some ambient light, and then I have the other one for reading or doing chores. Plus, that way I don't have to be as stressed out about running out of battery. If you're camping with someone else, it might be a good opportunity to bring a game or a deck of cards, or plan to tell stories around the campfire. Whatever you do, make sure you take advantage of those after dark hours because they take up a big chunk of your trip. My personal favorite tip for making winter camping fun is to treat yourself. That can look different for different people, but basically when you're winter camping, you want to bring some luxury items to make it a little special. For me, that's always going to be food. When I went on my most recent trip, I brought a few different varieties of flavored hot chocolate and some flavored instant chai teas. And it was a really great treat for while I was sitting in the dark and the cold and I wanted to have something warm and sweet. A luxury item for you might be an item that you bring, or a game, or a book. Whatever it is, just make sure you have something to look forward to when you are at camp. Again, it's just something that'll make it more fun and help you to pass the time. As always, I'm going to save the best tip for last, and this one can be a little difficult to enact because it's all mental. If you go into winter camping and you're thinking, I'm going to be cold, I'm going to be miserable, I'm not going to have a good time, well, that's probably going to happen. You really need to make sure you're in the right headspace going into a winter camping trip. If you know you're well prepared, that you're going to be safe and warm, the rest is all up here. It is a mental game to intentionally have fun and be in a good mood when you're out camping, really any time of year. But it's especially important in winter because when you wake up in the morning and it's below freezing and you have to crawl out of your sleeping bag, it might be easy to be miserable. But if you are excited about the day, looking forward to some of those treats you brought for yourself, you'll have a really great time and it will make camping a lot more fun. I hope this list of tips has given you some inspiration to go on a winter camping trip of your own. And if you need more inspiration, I hope you'll check out my Oil Creek State Park video where I did a 2-night trip by myself in February. I stayed nice and cozy by the fire and it was just a really great time relaxing in the woods and hiking around.